Welcome back. Now we turn to the theater, where a prolific figure in early U.S. history is the focus of a new play. Phillis Wheatley was an enslaved person and one of the best-known poets in pre-19th century America. Her landmark book, Reflections on Various Subjects, Religious and Moral, was published in London in 1773. It was the first known book of poetry by an English-speaking person of African descent, and the third book published by an American woman. Well, Wheatley is featured in the Boston Women's Memorial statue in the Back Bay, alongside Abigail Adams and Lucy Stone. And this November, Phillis in Boston, an original new play, will be presented by Revolutionary Spaces at the Old South Meeting House. And joining us today is Reggie Life. He's the director of this play. Hi, Reggie. How are you today?
Great. How are you doing?
I am doing quite well. I'm looking forward to seeing this presentation. Phillis Wheatley, not an unknown figure here in Boston, but what part of her story do you think has been overlooked and is important for people to know?
Well, I think this is the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, and I think as Revolutionary Spaces is looking at that period of time, I think it's an apt time for us to look at Phillis and her writing, and at the very, very interesting time that when she returns from England with her book published, that it's also the eve of the revolution is happening. All these things were happening at the same time, and I think people have not been able to connect the dots of that until now, and that's one of the things that our play will do.
Tell us more about some of the ways that you're making this story relevant to a 2023 audience, and how you're getting people interested in this time period that we usually associate with Paul Revere, powdered wigs, and what the men were up to.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, that's the missing part of history, in that Phillis represents that part of history, particularly for kidnapped Africans or Africans who are now finding themselves enslaved in America, and particularly in the Boston locale, where slavery was very different than it was in the South, but there was still slavery up north. And so
how was it different? Well,
the slaves and their masters, quote unquote, were much more closely kind of intertwined. I think it's one of the things Phillis's story is so interesting because of her relationship with her master, Susanna Wheatley, who helped her get the book published. But we're trying to look at that complicated relationship that develops between a young woman, no matter what her phenotype is, and another woman who has a mother figure, but yet is someone who owns her. So it's a complicated negotiation that they have in life, and you see that happening in the play.
Now, the playwright Ade Solanke is a British Nigerian woman.
Yes.
What are her ties to this story and to Boston?
Well, Ade is from England. She grew up in London, but she's of Nigerian descent, as you mentioned. She was a Fulbrighter, and she came here on a Fulbright to look at this play, not so much this play, but this interesting part of our history through the lens of Phillis. They're doing a production of Phillis in London right now that Ade is shepherding. So this is a sort of a companion piece, Phillis in Boston. So it's sort of in that world of sequels and prequels. This is sort of the sequel to the story that Ade is talking about now in the UK. And looking at it here, again, we don't often examine what happened during the Middle Passage and what that was all about, how culture and history moved across the ocean. But I think the play examines some of that through Phillis and her very close friend, Obor Tanner. Okay, and it's very interesting that this performance is going to be staged in the Old South Meeting House, which is not a traditional theater space, but a very important location in the history of Boston. Exactly. I mean, that's where the revolution was all put together. I mean, Sam Adams, Paul Revere, all of those sort of luminaries from that time period all walked the same floorboards that we're walking now, sat in those seats. So it's a great place to absorb more and new history. Yes, all right. Most definitely. Reggie Life, director of Phillis in Boston, thank you for joining us. Thank you. And we want to let you know the play opens November 3rd for a 5-week run at the Old South Meeting House. It's part of the commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Cityline 5, and you can follow me on X at Karen Holmes Award. Have a great afternoon.